Derek Chauvin decided not to testify in his own trial. Debbie Hines updates us on the latest from that trial. Check it out, leave your comments, ding the bell, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. Back in with Debbie Hines, our legal analyst, and find out what happened today in the Chauvin trial. IamDebbieHines.com, her website, IamDebbieHines, her Twitter handle. Debbie, welcome back. So what happened today?
Well, Tom, it's almost over. We're just about getting ready to give the baby to the jury. So the defense today rested their case, and the well-awaited decision of whether or not Derek Chauvin would testify in his own behalf was answered with an overwhelming no. I honestly didn't expect him to testify because he would have done himself no good, and he would have done the prosecution a lot of good, because he is not a sympathetic-looking character to begin with, and then the fact that he has had all these prior incidents which would have been able to have been brought up by the prosecution and cross-examination. So I don't think it was any surprise to many lawyers that he did not testify. But there was some interesting stuff going on afterwards, because the prosecution is allowed to have what we call rebuttal evidence, rebuttal witnesses, and rebuttal means not going over everything you've already gone over to dispute what the defense said, but where the defense has brought up something new, then you are allowed to say, no, that wouldn't work. So there was an issue about the defense bringing up carbon monoxide in Mr. Floyd's cause of his death. And that's where some fireworks got going, because evidently the prosecution, Hennepin County, had a report on carbon monoxide in regards to Mr. Floyd, but had not provided it to the defense. And unlike what we see on Law and Order and all these TV shows, it doesn't work that way in the real world. You have to provide everything that you're going to provide in court ahead of time, not on the last day of trial. So maybe if it had been early on, it might have been better, but not the last day of trial, the last half an hour. You can't spring something on the defense. So anyway, the prosecution did bring back their pulmonary expert, who did testify that no, carbon monoxide had nothing to do with Mr. Floyd's death, and obviously it was the obvious thing that we all saw for 9 minutes and 29 seconds, which was Derek Chauvin. So it goes to the jury for a closing argument on Monday. The jury was instructed that they will be sequestered, which means that they cannot go home until they either deliver a verdict, get a mistrial, or come back and say we can't do anything else. So the judge told them to just pack up as much stuff as you think you might need and hope for the best that you won't be out that long.
So they're sticking them in a hotel. I had a caller a couple of days ago who said that when the prosecution, or when the defense asked for a sequester of the jury and the judge turned it down, this was, after Mr. Wright was murdered, then that was like setting up an appeal. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, the defense can raise that on appeal, but you have to, you can raise anything on appeal, but you have to show that by proof that the decision of the judge was not within its discretion and that it was harmful to your client. And that doesn't mean just because the jury comes back with a guilty verdict that, oh, we should have sequestered the jury at that point. So it doesn't mean that the defense always has a burden. It kind of flips on appeal. The defense has an uphill climb on appeal to prove that an issue was what you should have done, that it was harmful, and it resulted in the verdict that we got. But sequestrations are very difficult on jurors. It's not known if it works for or against the prosecution or for or against the defense. But it's very hard to, give up your cell phone, stay in a hotel with a bunch of strangers, which is what it means.
So it basically upsets them, and their upset may show up in a whole variety of unpredictable ways? Is that what you mean?
Yes, you don't know which way it cuts against. So it's not like sequestration is good for the defense and bad for the prosecution or vice versa. You just really don't know. So I just think the judge did a good call. I mean, but it's no way to really know which way it would have gone, because literally it means exactly what I said. You're in a hotel in the middle of a pandemic with a bunch of strangers in masks, and you are not able to be on your cell phones and communicate with your family members.
Right. We have just a minute left, Debbie. I think it's fairly obvious what the prosecution's summation is going to be. How it seems like though the Democrats, the defense, every single one of their defenses has been knocked down. How are they going to build a defense?
So like I said, on both sides, right, on both sides, the defense as well as the prosecution, they're talking to the jurors that they believe are in support of them. So when the defense is talking to the jurors that they believe is in support of them, that can give them something to go back into the jury room to argue. Look, they said that it was carbon monoxide. They said it was this. They said it was that. That's all the defense is basically trying to do. But in the real world, the defense is just hoping for that one or two jurors who has an inherent racial bias, because we've all seen what happened. We've heard from 35-plus witnesses from the prosecution as to how it happened, and we've already seen and heard what caused the death of George Floyd, which was Derek Chauvin. So it's just really the defense is just hoping there is one person in there that can basically side with them, and hopefully that won't happen.
Yeah, one little bit of doubt that one person can hang on to it like a life raft in the ocean. I get it.
Right.
Debbie Hines, thank you, Debbie. Thanks for dropping by again today.
Thank you.